Hey, welcome to Hanger Z Podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. In this two-part series, Jack Schonely and I sit down with Helene Balmir, a pilot from the Phoenix Police Department. Born to a French-Canadian mother and a Haitian father who immigrated to New York in the 1960s, Helen grew up in Montreal, Canada. She's the youngest of three sisters. From a young age, Helen was an avid skier, hitting the slopes before she could walk, and competing in downhill skiing until she was 17. She attended a Catholic high school, but took a brief detour from her academic pursuits for a few years. Despite this, her passion for sports led her to earn a scholarship for soccer and track, eventually pursuing a degree in criminal justice at a university in Missouri. After graduating, Helen returned to Montreal for a summer before traveling to Arizona to visit her sister. Although she originally planned to continue to Hawaii, she fell in love with Phoenix and decided to stay, eventually applying for the Phoenix Police Department. Helen's career with the Phoenix Police Department began in 2004, patrolling the busy Maryvale precinct. From 2008 to 2015, she served as a detective in the robbery, kidnapping, and extortion unit before joining the ATF Violent Crimes Task Force, where she worked undercover until 2018. She then returned to Maryvale Patrol until 2020, when she transitioned to the Air Support Unit. In 2021, Helen attended flight school, earning a commercial pilot certificate by March of 2022. Her extensive training includes 3 phases of TFO training, each lasting 3 months. In addition to her professional achievements, Helen's passionate about dogs, sports, and training. Working part-time for Canadian Defense, a company specializing in raising and training police and other working dogs. Thank you to our sponsors, Shotover, Spectrum Aeromed, and Anodyne Electronics Manufacturing.
Welcome to the Hanger Z Podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. The Hanger Z Podcast is the first and only podcast dedicated to promoting and exploring the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Join your host, John Gray, Jeff Ratkovich, and Jack Schonely.
Still southbound, skidding to a stop. Stand by here. Looks like you're getting ready to bail. Heads up, guys, bailing. Okay, the guy, he's running through the house, jumping the fence, threw the shotgun, threw something out. Grabbing the shotgun. Don't go over that fence. Don't go over that fence. Grab the shotgun again. He is armed. Stay there. Hold your position.
4 on the stop. You're in custody.
Good advising code 4 on the stop.
Welcome to the Hanger Z Podcast. I'm your host, Jack Schonely. With me today is the creator of the Hanger Z Podcast, John Gray. John, how are you, sir?
What's going on, sir? Good to see you. Glad you made it back from the depths of the training academy.
Yes, survived the academy for another week and good to go. And we've been looking forward to our guests today. So this will be great. This will be great. John always puts great intros before the podcast. And so you're going to hear some of this, but he may not put this part in. The way we came across our guest today is interesting. A friend of mine, a retired pilot from Albuquerque PD, John Skinner, he lives down in the Phoenix area now. And he posts things about Phoenix all the time. As a matter of fact, his son is on Phoenix PD. And he posts things about Phoenix PD and activities. And a month ago, he posted a short, it was like a recruitment type video. And that video was highlighting a pilot at Phoenix PD Air Support. And I watched the video. It was really well done. It was very short, very sweet, but it had a lot of information in like 90 seconds. And as soon as I got done watching it, I said, future guest. Immediately said future guest, because our guest has a very interesting background, an interesting story. Hanger Z loves interesting stories, as does Real Rescue and Helicopter Podcast. We all the Vertical Helicasts. We love pilots and TFO stories of how they got there. And so I ran it by John and showed him that video, and he said, "Oh my gosh, yes!" And next thing you know, we're at HAI, and we're sitting with Brent Bundy, who's a retired Phoenix PD pilot, and he's a photographer now for Vertical. And we're sitting at dinner, and I mentioned it to him, and he goes, "Oh, I know Helen very well. She'd be a great guest." And I said, "I know, I think so too." And he said, "I'll get her on the phone." Next thing you know, Brent's on the phone with Helen. So, that's how this all came about. It's funny how we come across guests, and I think it's interesting to share that with our listeners sometime. How did they find Helen? Well, that's how we found her. And so our guest today is a pilot from Phoenix PD Air Unit, Helene Balmir. welcome, Helen, to the Hanger Z podcast.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you. I'm honored, actually. You've had amazing guests, and so not sure why I'm here, but I love that story.
Well, that's a true story, and our listeners are going to find out why you're here in a hurry, because you do have an interesting background, Helen, and you're very humble about it. But it's just very interesting. Lots of little different twists and turns, and we're going to get to all of it. That's where we're at today with Helen. But John's going to start us off with the Hanger Z traditions.
Yeah, before we get into that, I feel like whenever somebody tells us, I don't know why you want to talk to me, I've not got a very interesting background, we look at each other and we know instantly that's going to be a great interview right there.
Yes. Yes.
So that humble attitude you have is awesome.
It is.
And it's really interesting to go through your background and to profile all the things you've done to this point. So I'm excited to get into that. But as Jack alluded to, we have some traditions we have to adhere to. First of which is drink of the day, because it's almost the end of the week. It's almost spring break. I'm rolling with CNC Yeti with a vodka soda in there. That's my drink of the day. So, yeah.
I'm a vodka soda person.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a Tito's and soda person.
All right. This is, it's actually, I hate to admit it, but it's Costco vodka.
Oh, yeah. Costco has great vodka.
They do. So, yeah, that's mine. What are you rolling with, Helen?
Okay, well, so lately I've developed a grapefruit addiction, and so I'm having grapefruit juice.
All right.
And then I also do have soda water. It's a Spindrift. Do you guys drink Spindrift? I love Spindrift.
Oh. Never heard of it.
Oh yeah,
Spindrift.
it's just sparkling water with hints of real fruit. But I also have Spindrift, which I will later put Tito's in.
All right.
But for now, it's just Spindrift and grapefruit juice.
So the grapefruit juice, I'm not convinced that it's not a shot of something. It looks like it's in a little shot cup. I'm not sure.
That's all I had left. So there's people down the street from me that have an orchard, and I keep picking their grapefruit and make my own squeeze and grapefruit juice. But yeah,
Nice.
so that's all I had left. It's the last of my revered grapefruit juice.
Okay, well, we'll take you for your word. It's grapefruit juice. Jack, I know you're still fighting for that sponsorship. What are you drinking?
I'm fighting for the sponsorship from Liquid Death. I'm doing the Dead Billionaire, which is it's an Arnold Palmer. It used to be called Armless Palmer. And I've been told, I haven't looked up the story yet. I meant to do it today, but I've been told that Liquid Death got a call from Arnold Palmer's, foundation or something and said, no, you can't use that. So they said, oh, no problem. Dead Billionaire. And they changed it from Armless Palmer to Dead Billionaire. But I'm going to be driving the RV here as soon as we finish up. So I need a little bit of iced tea to perk me up for the drive we're about to do.
Yes, so is there caffeine in that?
Not much, not a lot. It's a kind of a light iced tea with a light lemonade on this one. It's good. It's just, but there is some caffeine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Excited for your trip. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Well, drink of the day is concluded. We'll have to take up a real drink of the day at AppsCon, hopefully this summer if you guys make it out there.
Yeah.
Does Phoenix go to AppsCon traditionally?
I think this year we're going to send one person. I don't know if that's going through or not. It's kind of hit or miss. But this year, he's no longer new. One of the newer pilots, maybe he's been here 5 years, 6 years maybe. He was going to go this year. So
cool.
Yeah,
we're big advocates for the conferences, for the training and education, and the networking is the biggest part of that.
I would, absolutely. I would love to go. I mean, the networking is it's half the game, right? That's how you learn so much of other people's experiences and just other people's how they operate.
Right.
Exactly. Yep. We are big advocates of networking and learning from our peers.
Well, hopefully we catch you at one of these shows coming up. But
that would be great. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. For the next segment, it's the hot seat. And Helen, you and I talked about some of these questions a little bit, and you almost got me to slide the questions to you before the interview. And I
was
decided
hoping.
Not to.
I was waiting. I was hoping.
She's very convincing. But you did not slip the questions, John?
I did not.
Wow,
so
well done.
Our new Vertical MRO podcast, he's introduced this a little bit to his podcast, and what he's been doing is giving the questions in advance. And I'm like, that's actually kind of an interesting way of doing it. It gives people time to think about it. But I think I like keeping you guys on your toes. And they're just random questions anyways. So today's questions have to do with life's annoyances, at least what I consider to be life's annoyances. And the first one, I've gotten much better about. When I come in the house, when I get out of the car, I've got a place for my wallet, my sunglasses, and my keys. Like, they go in one place. The problem is when I go on vacation or somewhere else and I'm not in that same place and I put my keys somewhere, I'm like, where the crap did I put my keys at? So the question is, would you rather lose your keys or your phone?
My phone. And so at home, my phone, because I'm old school and I still have a landline, so I could just call my phone and find it, right? But my keys, oh my goodness, how many times I've been late to work because I'm like, I don't know where my keys are. And then I just, when my house is not this big, this is impossible. How can I lose my keys? But it'll take me legit like 15 minutes to find my keys.
Yeah.
And I don't have I don't have any ways to find them. I don't have a little clapper thing, or I don't have an air tag on my keys. So yeah, my phone, I'd rather lose my phone.
We just put the air tag on, and that's super helpful.
Did you? Yeah.
But typically we're not home when we lose our keys. We're somewhere else, and I put them in a place I'm not familiar with.
Right.
And I'm like, where did I put those keys? Somewhere safe, but I can't remember that somewhere safe is.
Yeah.
The phone, I think I would say that the phone traditionally, although I just went through actually at LAPD's Chili Fly-In last year, the day of the fly-in, I dropped my phone, broke the screen, and I had to go that morning to the fly-in. And so I realized that day how much I rely upon my phone to be productive and to do the things we do. To get on the train, I needed my phone because that had the mobile train pass. To communicate with anybody, I needed to communicate. I couldn't talk to anybody. It was such a pain in the butt. So at that point, I'm like, almost my keys, because at least I can get in a different car and go where I need to go. But still, I don't know.
The only reason I said my phone is because it's easier to find. But if I lost my phone, I'd be lost. I wouldn't know what to do without my phone. I agree. I don't even know. We don't know people's phone numbers anymore, right? Like I couldn't. It's The
only person's phone number I know is my wife. I don't know anybody else's phone number. So if she's not answering the phone, I'm in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Jack, what's your thought on this?
Wow. I just lost the RV keys in the past hour and had to go look for the second set because I want the two sets. No matter whenever we go, we take two sets. So I had the one set and I couldn't find the other set, and I found them. I won't say where, but they were not in my pocket. But they might have been in a keyhole in the RV. So I would say losing the keys could be a real big problem. Whereas like the phone, I can track it on my computer, see where that is. But I also agree that, man, when you're without your phone, it really goes downhill fast, especially if you're busy doing something. You need it.
Yeah.
I remember phone numbers from childhood of cousins and friends and stuff, but I couldn't tell you the phone number for my daughter right now or my son. I don't know. I just press Megio, boom, Ian, boom.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers. I really don't. So that phone's important.
Well, we were talking offline, Helen and I both were kids in the 80s. And like you said, Jack, you had to remember your home phone number and the phone numbers of your friends.
Oh yeah.
Because that's how you communicate. You pick up
all
the phone
and
dial it. You don't press call so-and-so.
You probably had 20 plus numbers in your head, right? At least.
Yeah, right.
That you knew solid and many of them, I don't know all of them anymore, but I remember the big ones.
Yeah.
My sisters and I joke about it all the time, which numbers we remember of our own and of our friends and our cousins and stuff like that. It's pretty amazing that you can, that was 60s and 70s where I was using those phone numbers.
Yeah.
I remember my best friend's phone number growing up, but that's therefore her parents' number, right? So I don't know her phone number, but if I really need a hold of her, I could call her mom. Like I know
exactly
the growing up house. Yeah.
It's interesting too when you think about the opposite of that, how advanced the phones are now. And I remember my brother-in-law, he's a big tech person. When iPhone released their first iPhone, I made fun of him. Like, why do you want that thing? What's it going to do? and look at how much, I rely on it today. It's insane, but pretty neat technology. I will say that.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's the hot seat. So thanks for
you made it, Helen.
Yeah. Thanks
that was fun.
Yeah. Thanks for playing along. I appreciate
John
it.
has good questions. He's got good life questions,
Yeah, this is fun.
I'm glad he doesn't assign me those questions. Every now and then I'll do one, but just to screw with Harold or with Deb. But those were good.
Yeah, I like the random questions.
Yeah, they're fun.
All right. Well, here we go. Our show's become very international, John. Have you noticed that? We had Harold on, and recently we had another guest that it's not out yet, but Andre that grew up in Switzerland. Well, now we have Helen. So tell us about where you grew up, Helen. And it wasn't in the United States. So where are we beginning here with your story?
I was born and raised in Montreal, Canada. And I lived there. Well, we lived there. My family, we lived there until I was about 19. When I was 19, I went to college in Missouri. But my mom still lives there. My sisters have since moved. And so speaking of international, my sisters live in England and Denmark now, and they've moved a little bit all over. So yeah, so my vacations are pretty, they're never really local. My vacations are always a little bit interesting.
That's cool.
But yeah, born and raised in Montreal, Canada, speaking, my first language is French. We didn't really speak English until quite a bit later, really like high school. We had to take it in high school.
Is that when it starts in Canada? Well, not in all of Canada, but in Montreal, it was high school where you started to learn other languages.
Thank you to our sponsor, Shotover. Shotover Systems is the leading developer and manufacturer of high-performance gyro-stabilized cameras with advanced real-time AR mapping and mission management, all backed by unparalleled custom training and support. Now offering the M2 multi-sensor system, sole 6-axis EO-IR platform with 4K Ultra HD color and infrared technology. Ideal for law enforcement and defense. Offered with real-time AR overlays to quickly identify streets, weather, and traffic. Automated license plate recognition, 24 megapixel digital photographs, and automated steering and tracking.
So Montreal is interesting because it's a bilingual city, right? So you could go to school in English or you could go to school in French. So we went to school in French, and I want to say we took English end of primary school. You have a little bit of English, but really mostly high school, yes, is where English kicks in. And depending on what school you go to, it could be, just counting to 10 and knowing how to ask for the restroom, or it could be a lot more in depth. So yeah. And then depending who you associate with or what your activities are, you may or may not use it because again, it's very bilingual. So you walk into a store and you could just speak whichever language you prefer, really.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like that in Southern California, but with Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing in Phoenix now, of course. Yeah. Same thing in Phoenix. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. It's interesting, not to go on a tangent here, but when I worked for San Diego, I worked literally on the border in San Ysidro, and there was more English speaking folks at the border in San Ysidro being right on the border than there were when I went to work for Ontario, which is about an hour and a half north of the border. So you go to Ontario and a lot of the communities are Spanish speaking only. And I'm not Spanish speaking only. So it was interesting.
I went to, my parents sent us to a private school for high school, very academically strict, great school. I was going to say I loved it. At the time, I don't know that I loved it, but I'm very grateful that I went there. And we learned English and Spanish very, very well. They were very, like I said, it was very academically strict. And so we learned English and Spanish very well, which I'm really grateful for now living in Phoenix, Arizona. So, yeah.
Do you speak Spanish fluently?
It depends on the day. I would say when I'm in patrol and I use it all the time, yes.
Okay, good.
So I'm a certified Spanish speaker for the city.
Okay.
If I don't use it for quite a while, all of a sudden I struggle with certain words. But when I'm on the street and I use it every day, then yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What about French? Do you still speak a lot of French with your family and friends and cousins and things like that?
Yes. Yes, I do. So my mom pretty much only speaks French. She's getting really good at English now because our lives. So I have 2 sisters. Our lives are in English, and so she's had to get good in English. But
right.
When I talk to my mom, it's only French. When I talk to my sisters, it's Franglish. It's definitely a mix of everything.
That's funny.
And same thing with my friends, like my friends from back home and my cousins and stuff. But the guys at work will kind of tease me after I hang up the phone with my family. They're like, "Oh, your accent is coming out. Your accent is really strong."
so it's because right now I don't hear a French accent in you at all. But I would imagine if you get off a 20-minute phone call speaking French, your English has the French accent with it for a while until it goes away again. Is that what happens?
Yes, and a lot of I can't find words a lot. I'm like, what do you call the thing? There's a lot of times that I'm like, I know the word in French, I don't know it in English. Like butterfly. Butterfly, I can always find the word in Spanish, but I can't think of it in English or French for whatever reason. So it is weird. My brain just puts all of it together sometimes. But yeah.
Well, it's fascinating. It's always been fascinating to me. And Europe is like this too, but Canada, obviously parts of Canada, where languages are a big deal. I mean, there's people that I know in Europe that speak 3 to 4 languages, and it was almost expected. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, I made that choice. No, we had to, and it fascinates me because I can barely get English down. And, I took in high school, I took German a little bit because I was in Pennsylvania where there was a lot of German, but I can't speak German. I mean, it would have come in handy at times, but I would imagine French, Spanish, and English, that, not just family stuff, that could really come in handy, certainly with your job with the Spanish in Phoenix, certainly. I mean, that keeps you safer and it makes you more effective and in so many ways. But the French, I mean, you could go to Canada, you could go to Europe, and the French will really come in handy.
Yeah, speaking of Europe, my brother-in-law, he's Danish. He speaks, I'm going to get it wrong now, so sorry, John, but he speaks, his name's John, not you, John. He speaks like 6 or 7 languages. And like you said, he's like, I don't know, like 6 or 7? Like, it's just very normal, right? He's not, well, I had to learn 6 languages. It's just very normal for him.
Yeah.
Exactly what I'm talking about, Helen. I mean, it's just, they just say, oh, well, that's the way it is. That isn't like that in the United States. No, we barely speak English. As a matter of fact, our English really is not very good for the most part. And, so that's fascinating.
But I will say definitely growing up, like I said, when I was 19, I went to college in Missouri. So then my life was in English. Which is, now I realize it's more than half my life, which is crazy. So now I've spent more than half my life in the US versus where I grew up. But I'm still famous for saying, I don't know this American expression because there's a lot of expressions that I don't know still.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
Well, a lot of those expressions are regional too. I mean, there's expressions like the South is famous for expressions, and you'll hear them and you go, what the, I've been on the planet a long time. And I says, what does that mean? And they tell you, oh, that's great. That is so cool. But you'd never heard it growing up in the Northeast or in the West. You just never, ever heard that.
And then I make people think because I'll ask them, well, what does that mean? Or where does that come from? What's the origin of this expression?
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's a really good question. Let's Google it. Yeah.
Exactly. Most don't know. Oh, that's funny. So growing up, tell us about some of those activities. There's one in particular that I'm very interested in. I think you know which it is. But what were your activities growing up that you were really into?
We were on skis before we could walk, basically. So my parents were so we grew up in the city. I mean, I guess just outside downtown, but in the city. And on the weekends, my parents had a cabin that my grandpa and my dad built. It was like a little log cabin that they built. And we would go there every weekend and we would go skiing. I guess my parents were into skiing. I mean, my dad's from Haiti, so I don't know how my mom got into got him into skiing, but he loved it. And so we
must have loved it very much.
Yeah.
Not a lot of skiing. Not a lot of skiing in Haiti.
No, not much. I can't imagine. No. So we were skiing since, as long as I can remember. We did a little bit of cross-country skiing, which I think we all hated, except my parents, but I don't think my sisters liked it either. And we skied our entire life, and that's still our thing. Like I just came back from a ski vacation with my sister. We went to Austria because
oh man, nice.
Yeah. My sister had one of my sisters. Her son had a school trip in Austria, and so she made us go with her. It's horrible.
Made you go? Yeah. Where did you ski, and what was your mountain, or was there a particular place that you went to in Montreal area?
Yeah, so our mountain was called Schonely. So we went to the Schonely, and we had season passes there. So my sisters we all took lessons. My sisters ended up being ski instructors, and I couldn't be bothered. And so I started racing. So when I was maybe 8, I think I started racing. And yeah, so that was my big thing. I progressed through the ranks or not the ranks, but the age categories and competitive categories. And it's probably the sport I was the best at. I went to nationals, the provincial games and all that. I was probably the sport I was the best at. But at about 16, I really got into hockey, and I was really tired of being cold. And so, and it was a bit of that fork in the road as well. Are you going to keep going really competitively or stop? And so I just stopped. I think my parents, like I said, we always skied. My parents really were into skiing, but I think they probably weren't too mad that I said, yeah, I'm not going to compete anymore, because it's a commitment, right?
It is. It is in many ways. Financially, time-wise, distances that you're going to races. I imagine you traveled quite a bit.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of times we'd have to go. So it was about just about an hour north of Montreal, and that's where the cabin was. And it was 10 minutes from the cabin to our home ski hill. But then I would have races. So I was just talking to a friend about this recently, and it just dawned on me now that I'm an adult. It dawned on me. I'm like, oh, wow, that must have been quite a headache for my parents, because they had to take my sisters to Chanteclair, and then I had to go to whatever race I was going to. And yeah, you have to wake up. I woke up earlier probably on the weekends than I did on weekdays, because you have to be at the hill at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. maybe. I don't remember. But yeah, it was really, really fun. And that's still our thing. That's our family thing. So
that's cool.
Very cool.
Skiing is our thing. I was playing soccer as well growing up, which that ended up taking me to college. Got a soccer scholarship to go play in Missouri at a small NAIA university. And I played hockey. That's probably the sport I was the least good at, but it was my favorite sport for a while. But I'm not awesome. As good. It's so fun.
I never played it, but my son did, and I loved watching hockey. I mean, I still love to watch professional hockey, college hockey, but I loved watching my son play hockey. It was just, my wife and I we just grew to love it so much. It was so much fun to watch someone you love that's out playing that sport. It's a great sport. And that was an early morning sport for you too.
Oh yes. Yeah. The hockey practices at 6 a.m. Yeah, for sure. But it's so many skills, right? So soccer, all you have to know how to do is kick a ball. Like everybody knows how to run, but skating or hockey, you need to learn how to skate. You need to learn how to puck handle. You need to learn all these other skills. So definitely a very, very skilled sport.
Oh, no doubt.
If it's okay, Jack, I want to jump in and just jump forward for a second, because I'm interested in your experience in flight training. So to go backwards, as I grew up, I was very involved in athletics, and I thought that would help me as a student going through flight school, and it maybe did. But I had the hardest time learning how to fly, because every limb of your body is doing something different. What was your experience, you've obviously got the hand-eye coordination with all these different sports you're playing. What was your experience in flight school? And sorry to jump ahead so far, but No.
Yeah. So flight school, everything's hard, right? Flying a helicopter is not easy. So flight school was not easy by any means, but flight school started really easy for us because, so we go through TFO training and all that. We were at, so me and 3 of us went to flight school at the same time together. So we were probably in the air unit for about a year before we got sent to flight school. And we had a little bit of bootleg time. So by the time we got to flight school and fly the R-22s, it was so easy. We start up there at flight school. And then once you learn a few more maneuvers, you're like, oh, yeah. You're a lot more with the curve, right? We start very much above the curve, I would say. But then you drop pretty quickly with the rest of the students. I would say, I think it helped me a lot. And I think just my athletic abilities helped a lot. I definitely, so Robbie's, now I'm going to say it backwards. I forget which one's the power pedal. I'm going to say it backwards, but it's the opposite of the A stars, right? So whichever way it goes. It's
left should be in the Robbie, right?
Yes. Because left is in the Robbie. So moving from flight school back to Phoenix with the A stars, I didn't really have that much of an issue adapting to the power pedals. I think you just kind of instinctively move whichever part of your body needs to move. So I think it did help me a lot just to have that and not so tense on the controls. I was told I'm pretty relaxed on the controls. I don't know.
I was the opposite of that, and I would imagine, Jack, most of your students were, right? The opposite of relaxed.
Yes, I wasn't relaxed either. I mean, I think back and think how tense I was, and I'd come home, my hands would hurt, my forearms would hurt. Damn, what's going on here? I hear death grip on everything, and once you learned, and we were taught that from day one. You got to relax. I remember getting the demonstration of the cyclic with one finger on it.
Yes,
and just moving the cyclic with one finger straight down the cyclic and saying, "See, it doesn't even take your whole hand. Relax." And once you learn that, boy, it does get easier. There's no doubt about it. But that's easier said than done. That's easier said
absolutely.
than done.
And let's not get crazy. I'm not a one finger on the cyclic person yet at all. But yeah, we had the factory. We had factory training from Airbus. And the lady I was flying with, she was amazing. Gina, I don't know her last name. Gina something. She was like, "Oh, you're very relaxed on the controls. This is really hard to teach." I don't know. We just came back from school, actually. It was a few weeks after we came back from school. I was like, "I don't know. I'm still scared of this machine, but okay, thank you."
Well, that's a great compliment. When you hear that from an experienced factory pilot, that should have made you feel very good. Wow. If they think I'm relaxed, even though you think you don't think that they're seeing something there. So that's good.
Yeah, I'm sure I hold my tension somewhere else, but apparently my hands are loose.
That's good.
Well, thanks for letting me jump in there. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, that was good, John. That's an interesting thing with athletics and pilot training. There are some pluses there. There's no doubt about that. But to hear it from different perspectives will be good. That could be a very consistent future question, John.
Yeah,
for some of our guests. That's great. At college, you went to college and you got a scholarship for soccer, right?
Yes.
But
yes.
you majored in
criminal justice. Yeah.
Yeah. So you knew before college. So let's back up to tell us, when did you know that criminal justice was on your radar and in your future?
Thank you to our sponsor, Spectrum AeroMed, your trusted partner in air medical solutions. Experience safety and innovation with their customized interiors. Designed for both rotor and fixed-wing aircraft. Fly with confidence. Fly with Spectrum AeroMed. For more information, please visit spectrum-aeromed.com.
My first legitimate career that I wanted to do. So when I was very young, like 10, I wanted to play in the NFL. But other than that, my first legitimate career I wanted to do was to be a police officer. And I got discouraged by my parents. My dad, very traditional Haitian, was not really interested about me having that career. And my mom, probably just being a mom, right, wasn't really excited about it either. So I was a little bit discouraged about, following through. So our school system is so different in Quebec. And you have kind of a mandatory junior college. It's called Cégep. You have a mandatory kind of junior college to do. And it could be 2-year junior college, or it could be a trade school, a 3-year trade school. To be a police officer, you would have to go to that 3-year trade school. It's called Technique Policière. So you would have to go do your 3-year trade school. So I did not do that. And so I did, I don't remember what I did. I know I did, I didn't accomplish anything in junior college is my point. I did electronic technology, and I changed my minor basically a few times. But finally, when I got a scholarship to go to college, I just knew I had to get back on track. That's what I always wanted to do. So I went criminal justice way. And I wasn't sure still where I would go with it. I explored probations, juvie. I explored a few outlets, and finally I just went back to what I knew I always wanted to do. So, and I think, I'm not 100% sure where it came from, but I think I just saw a cop in primary school. I saw a cop and I was like, this is so cool. Like, this is like, he protects us. I want to do that. I want to protect people. And kind of just stuck. I steered. I went, a few different directions throughout my growing up, but it just came back to, that's really cool. I want to protect people.
Yeah. It's cool that you can pinpoint that. That's really neat. That you can look back and go, oh, and that probably, I would imagine, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'll bet you that experience for you comes to mind because I'm sure you have done public events where you have gone to places and spoken to kids, and almost all cops do a little bit of that at some points, and you probably think about that when you're doing that, I would imagine.
So I don't often think about it, but every once in a while, someone will say something to me that sparks it back up, and then I feel very humbled, right? I'm so lucky that someone influenced me in that way. I love my profession. I love what I'm doing. I'm really grateful that happened to me, and I don't think about it really ever until someone says something to me, and I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm so happy that I could influence someone in a positive way.
Yeah.
It's interesting being at work. We call it the fishbowl because everybody's always watching you. It doesn't matter whether you're just walking into a restaurant to get some lunch, or if you're doing something on a call. But the smallest thing that you do could potentially influence somebody for good or bad. Whether you're again out at lunch at Chipotle or on a call. So I like to remember that when I was working, I would, make every effort to say hi to the little kid, to try and be a positive influence in those situations. So because it is like you said, it's such a influential position to be in, and it's neat to be able to leverage that and kind of speak some positivity into life of people. So
yeah, definitely. As much as I could, I'd get the stickers, right? And then you go into the neighborhoods and you go on a domestic violence call, but the little kids are all out. They're like, stickers? You got stickers? Yeah, I got stickers, and spend a little bit of time playing with them. I never really had that opportunity, but the last squad I was on before I went to the air unit, those guys would go in certain neighborhoods and they'd play basketball with the kids like all the time at nights. And I thought that was so cool. And I don't remember really why we didn't do it anymore, but I thought that was so cool. And it wasn't a formal thing. They would just show up in this apartment complex that was quite a challenging apartment complex, and they would just show up and start playing basketball with the kids. I thought that was really cool.
I remember landing at an airport, Los Baños, tiny little airport. Long story why I was there. But we landed and we were dropping off the helicopter to get something done on it. And then we were going to get picked up by somebody, taken to another airport, picked up by the King Air and flown back. So we go do that. And when we landed, we had some time. We were waiting for this guy, and a father and a young boy, he's probably 10, came up to us and said, "Hey, can we look at your helicopter?" I said, "Of course you can. Come on, man." And next thing you know, I've got him in the pilot's seat, put the helmet on him. He's sitting there. His dad's taking pictures. And I didn't think twice about that. Not twice, because we'd all done that. I mean, helicopters and canines, boy, oh boy, it's like a magnet,
Yeah.
And people they want to see it. They want to touch it. They want to sit in it. They want to pet your dog. They want to, all that. So that didn't faze me at all. I had just come out of canine where I did that 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And about a month later, one of the longest, nicest letters got sent to my captain out of the blue. And he read it at my wing ceremony. I didn't know anything about it. And the impact that little action did on that father and son, the father was like amazed. That was a really positive thing. And I remember thinking, that was nothing. But it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what they think. They thought that was incredible. And so it's so important for all of us to do little things. And you never know. Like John said, you don't know how that's going to impact somebody. Just you saying hi to them. Oh my gosh, that police officer said hi to me. It's so cool. That's one of the cool things about our job. And I don't think people appreciate it enough.
That video you were talking about, Jack, that little recruitment video. A few months ago, I walk into work at the air unit, and we have a civilian right along. He's a police employee, but he's a civilian, and he's just sitting there. So I'm like, "Hello, I'm Helen," and he says who he is, and he said, "Oh, I know about you. I've seen your video," and he goes, "I was watching the video, and my son, who is minority. I don't remember if he's biracial or if he's African American, but my son was a minority. My 10-year-old son was looking over my shoulder, and he started to watch the video with me, and he said, hey, Dad, does that mean I could do that one day?" And it was, here I am with my lunchbox on my shoulder. I'm like, wow, I was not expecting that. That is very, very cool. So I don't think about, to answer your question, John, no, I don't think about it very often, but whenever it gets brought up or I do think about it, it's quite impactful. And I think it's really, it's something I take for granted, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
And Helen, I'm telling you that if one person came up and told you that about that video for their son, that happened a lot more that you'll never know about. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. That video was really well done. Your recruitment section should be very proud of that.
Yep. I've
seen other things that they've done too, because John Skinner is on the pulse, man. I love that he posts that stuff because it's fascinating to me. Look at different agencies and how they handle this stuff. And Phoenix PD does a very nice job with their videos, highlighting units and people and actions. They're on top of it.
I felt so bad. Stacy is the girl that did it. She's amazing. She had to spend so much time with me because I thought I was, everybody thinks like I could be an actress. I thought I was so good. Oh my gosh, I was so awkward. She had to spend a lot of time with me. Like, she goes, "Why don't you walk around the corner now?" I'm like, how do I normally walk? I don't remember how to do this. It was so awkward. We had like so many takes. She did, and she texted me. She said, "Hey, I think it came out well. Good job." I'm like, "No, good job. Good editing. This is really nice."
Well, she did good. I didn't.
She really did.
John, you watched it. I didn't get that read from Helen at all. It looked very natural to me.
Well, thank you.
Going back to HAI, I think Jack had pulled a video up and he shows it to me, and that video literally got passed around the table. There's like 12 folks from MHM Publishing looking at it and like, "Oh, this is really good."
Yeah.
So they're doing a great job, and good job on you. At least your hands were kind of normal.
Kind of. I tried so many things when she was telling me to walk. I'm like, what if I hold a cup of coffee? And then it got more awkward. Like, okay, so let me drop the cup of coffee. What if I do? Oh gosh. So shout out to Stacy. She did a really, really good job.
Stacy, well done. Keep up the good work. You're doing good things for Phoenix PD.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we found Helen. That's how we found you. I mean, I'm so grateful for that. And the more we talk to you, the more we're enjoying it. So college ends, the fun's over. Now it's reality time, and you make some decisions. But how did you come to those decisions, or where you ended up?
So my sister, who now lives in Denmark, so my Denmark sister lived in Arizona at the time, and so I get done with college. I go back home for the summer to Montreal for the summer. I have a friend who's driving from Montreal to British Columbia. Like, I'll get in on that. That sounds like a fun road trip. And I pack a huge duffel or a backpack. And I'm like, I'll get it on that. I'll go all the way to BC with you, and then I'll go fly from BC to Arizona and hang out with my sister. And I didn't really have a plan yet. My plan, once I graduated college, was to be a police officer and most likely in the Northeast. I didn't know where, but I was thinking probably NYPD, maybe Boston, maybe Philadelphia. So I do this road trip with my friends, and I'm like, I'm going to go bum off my sister for a little bit who lives in Arizona. I'm going to go to Hawaii and just vacation. I think the movie Blue Crush had just came out. And so I'm like, I'm going to go to Hawaii and live like they do in Blue Crush. And then I'll get serious and I'll pick a place to apply. Well, I came to Arizona and I loved it. I met so many amazing people and the weather is amazing. Well, I thought so at the time. Now I'm tired of being hot, but the weather's amazing. And I just fell in love with Phoenix and I applied, and I don't remember how long my application process was or my hiring process was, but I applied and eventually made it here. But in the meantime, I had applied to the RCMP before I moved here.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
That didn't work out. And when I moved here, I didn't plan on staying. And when I decided I loved it, I applied with a few different agencies. I applied with DPS, which is our state troopers, Mesa PD, I think Glendale as well, Glendale PD. And I couldn't pass their test because I can't do push-ups to save my life. I can't do push-ups. In Phoenix, so I really wanted to go to Phoenix. So I wanted to go to a big agency. I wanted to go to an agency that had a lot of opportunities. Good. So Phoenix, at the time, their test was a bench press, and I could bench press all day long. So I passed that one, and I'm really, really grateful. To this day, I think, oh gosh, I'm so happy I didn't go to other agencies, and they're fine agencies. This worked out great for me, and Phoenix has so many opportunities. It's a great agency to be at.
Yeah, there's a lot of pluses. There's minuses to the big agencies. We all know that, but there are a lot of pluses to the big agency. And you mentioned the big one is that opportunities. There's 100 different jobs within one job. Yeah, it's not one job. Being a police officer is not one job in these bigger agencies. It's 100 jobs, and you get to pick. As long as you do a good job, you get to pick where you're going to go, and you have a lot to say about your route. So that's really. It's good in hindsight that you look at it that way too and go, wow, I'm thankful that it worked out this way.
Yeah. One of my buddies, he was debating where to apply, and he applied to MCSO instead of Phoenix. And he had a really good run with MCSO, and, they're a great agency as well. But I was like, come on, why are you going to go JV? Come varsity. Sure. But no, MCSO is a really good agency.
Goes to Phoenix PD and starts talking trash.
Yeah. We have a bit of a rivalry, but they're
sure you
agency.
Do. Sure you do. There's a lot of that in this world of law enforcement. So you got picked up by Phoenix. Talk about your academy and what you thought. Did you get into the academy and go, oh yeah, this is definitely for me, or did you go, uh-oh, what have I gotten into?
Thanks to our sponsor, Anodyne Electronics Manufacturing, a leading manufacturer of trusted special mission avionics for law enforcement, aerial firefighting, and utility operators. Visit www.aem-corp.com and learn how AEM's digital communication and loudspeaker systems, avionics consoles, radios, and specialty audio products can support your most demanding missions.
Really, neither. When I got picked up, I don't. How do I say this? I don't really dwell. No, that's not it either. I don't know. When I'm into something, I'm just in. And so it wasn't easy by any means, but it wasn't. I didn't question my choice either. Again, good classmates in the academy. You just you bond, you rally, and it was so. Our academy was 16 weeks. I don't know what it is anymore. I think it's longer. I think it's 20 weeks now, but it was 16 weeks plus 4 weeks so it was a regional academy. So 16 weeks. We had one Gilbert, which is a suburb. One ASU PD, which is the university here, one of the universities here, a few DPS, and mostly Phoenix. Our academy class was mostly Phoenix, but so you have 16-week academy, and then Phoenix has a separate 4-week post academy where you learn your own radio codes, your own, operations order. Throughout that time, really, I think I was just powering through it. When I'm invested, I guess you just power through, right? But it wasn't bad, but it wasn't easy. It was my first paramilitary experience. There was a lot of dudes that came from the Marines, from the Army. And this was my first paramilitary experience. So it was very foreign to me. But at the same time, it just, I don't know, it just is what it is, right? When you're raised with respect authority and respect your school teachers and your, whatever else might be, at the end of the day, it was just, you got to do what they say to do and just do it quickly. Yeah. So academy was good.
So John, on your academy experience from San Diego, do you remember it fondly or do you think of it differently?
No, it was good. Like you said, it was the classmates that made it fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, talking to the different folks that were from different agencies, it was a regional academy as well. So we had some university police students there, some community college police, I guess it'd be cadets at the time. Yeah, it was really cool. And then it's been cool to kind of keep up with them as their career and our careers progressed, just to kind of see the different paths people take. And yeah, but I enjoyed it. It was fun. Maybe it wasn't fun in the moment, but
right.
Now you're like, oh, that was fun.
I mean, because I know people that they said, oh my God, I hated the academy. I'm like, wow, I really liked it.
Yeah.
One thing with flight school, I would talk to people, they'd say, oh my gosh, 6 months. Oh, that was the longest 6 months. That was terrible. And like, that was one of the best 6-month periods of my life was flight training.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe it was the instructors, maybe different styles and all that. I get that. But when I would hear that, I'd go, when I'm an instructor someday, I'm going to make sure that when they get done at their 6 months, they think of it fondly.
Yeah,
I made an
100%.
effort. I really made an effort to that because I thought it shouldn't be something you look back on and go, oh, that was awful. No, you're learning to fly a helicopter, man.
Yeah.
That's what could be better than that. And you're flying places and landing different places. You're seeing towns and airports that you would have never gone to. And you're experiencing things that you would never see on the ground. And so that's good that we all look back at it fondly.
Yeah. When I completed flight school, I was obviously super excited to be back at Phoenix and finally learn the A-Star, but it was bittersweet. I really missed it. I missed the people at flight school, my instructors. It was a really, really, really good experience. And same thing with the academy. It was, some of my classmates are lieutenants now, and I think one commander, but yeah, it's cool to see. I just hit 20 years in February. So
congratulations. That's a big one.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm off probation.
That's a big mark. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think they're going to keep you, Helen. I'm pretty sure you're going to be all right.
We'll see.
So you get out of the academy and your first assignment, you really liked it. Where was that and why did you like it so much?
So one of the reasons I wanted to go to Phoenix was the opportunities. I wanted also something busy. I was told that you go to Phoenix South Mountain Precinct, Central City, or Maryville. These are the busy places.
Yeah.
So those were my 3 choices. And you get to put in 3 choices, and depending where you rank in the class, you get your number 1, number 2, whatever choice. And so I think my first choice was Maryville, and then South Mountain, then Central City. So I got Maryville, which was so fun. It's the west side of town. It's super busy, like not uncommon to get. I mean, couple shootings a week at least, but definitely sometimes 2 a day. And you work a lot of scenes. You're super busy. So we will say a 2-year Southside officer is way different than a 2-year Northside officer. And again, doesn't mean each individual officer has their own, skill set, their own progression.
Sure. I understand exactly what you're talking about here.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you're a better person, better officer, but
Absolutely.
the experience and the reps, where you just get a lot more reps.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I loved Married by
Volume has a lot to do with experience. I mean, when you get to do a lot of stuff in a short period of time, you're seeing things, rapid fire, literally, and that some people in other parts of the city see rarely, and you see it weekly, and therefore your experience level is going to be different than theirs. Even though some of the finest officers and I know and John knows maybe work some areas that were not as busy. I agree. So I agree with you. It doesn't matter. There's some outstanding officers there too, but but when you work in a busy precinct or station, boy, oh boy, that helps you in so many ways down the road. It helps you right now in the position you're in. All that experience you got in Maryville benefits you on a nightly basis in that helicopter, correct? I mean,
oh, absolutely. Yeah, because you learn how to run scenes, right? Because if you have 2 shooting scenes, your boss is at a scene, he's running that, and 3 of you are at this other scene, and you got to run your own scene, and you figure it out because, again, you get all the reps. So you make so many mistakes at first, but you figure it out. And, now you get in the air and you're basically the quarterback, right? From above, and having had that experience of, all right, I know what's important for everybody. And again, hopefully I'm relaying that properly to the people on the ground, but I know what I was looking for, and I know what's important, and I know how to run a scene. So I'll just run it from there.
Perfect analogy.
Yep.
I love what you just said, because it really, we talk about that regularly, about how important it is to have experienced patrol officers become TFOs and pilots, but particularly TFOs, but become part of that air crew, because it doesn't phase you. You've seen all this before. You're just looking at it from a different angle now, and in some cases, you have more responsibility from the air.
Yeah.
I mean, to coordinate these scenes. So I love that you said that.
And that's what we say for recruitment into the air unit. We're looking for good cops. Everything else will teach you, but we're looking for good cops. Like, if you could do the job really well and, kind of not phased, then hopefully you make a good TFO, and you make later, hopefully, a good pilot. But we're looking for good cops. That's just the main thing.
Does Phoenix have a minimum amount of time before you can apply to air support?
Yeah, so all specialties are 3 years. You have to do 3 years. Well, unless you're a lateral. If you're a lateral, and I don't know if there's a minimum amount of time that you were at your previous agency, but if you're a lateral, it's 1 year. Yeah.
That makes sense. That's a good thing too. There's agencies that don't have minimums, and sometimes they pay the price for that a little bit. I think it's good that this person has 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I mean, ours was 5, but it's a larger pool. But it's a larger pool of people, So some agencies can't do that. They can't say, "Oh, we need everybody to have 5 years on." Well, it's a smaller agency, and you can't put those on. But I think most people have seen the minimum amount of time in patrol being valuable for that position.
Yeah.
But what was it with you, John? What was it at Ontario?
I think when I left, it was you had to have a minimum of 2 years in patrol, and I don't remember if that was a formal requirement or if that was informal, but there was a minimum amount of time, because it goes to what you're saying. It's just ensuring that someone gets the reps in and understand what the job entails on the ground, because if you don't know how to do it in the ground, it's impossible to go to air support and then expect to be able to do it there. The one common theme that we've kind of come across when you ask folks, what's your recommendation to be a better candidate to go to air support? And the one thing that is said most often is to do the job you're in now well. Yes. And most often that job is patrol. So be good at that, and that will set you up for success as a TFO most of the time.
Did you guys do a lot of shadows from, people that were interested, do a lot of shadows and kind of see how they, like a little test trial, basically?
Yeah, we would invite them up for a flight, and they could actually come up as frequently as they wanted to up until selection. And then once they're selected, obviously, then they're coming up on a more frequent basis. But Yeah, we encourage that. I think it's important for folks to kind of see what it's like to fly before they even put an application in.
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
We encouraged it too. A lot of training officers, when they would have we call them probationers, probationer in their last month, that would be like their reward if they were going to make it. That last month, a lot of training officers would call up and say, "Hey, I got a probation. They're getting off probation here in the next month or two, and they're doing great. I need to arrange a ride along." And it was like a reward, but at the same time, it was exposing them to what we do, how we do it, listening to the communication from our end, listening to all those radios that, they get in, they go, "Oh my gosh, you're listening to how many frequencies?" And they couldn't believe it, but it was good. And a lot of people that end up coming to air support talk about their first time up there. I remember my first flight up there, and it was like, wow, this would be pretty cool, And then I went a different route for a while, but eventually I came back to it. And that happened to you too, right, Helen? With a flight?
Yeah, but what's funny is I don't actually remember the first flight. I don't remember what happened, but it must have been obviously exciting because. So yeah, I was not interested in air unit. I had heard the stories, probably back in the days when they had the NOTARs. Like I heard the stories where you get all the gas fumes and just they kind of make you sick on purpose, and it's just so funny. The good old boy days. And I don't know that was ever true, for one, but I was like, that's really not for me. I'm afraid of heights. I get motion sickness. And I don't like commercial flying.
That was one of the things that jumped out in the recruitment video. They mentioned that you mentioned that you were scared of heights, and that this wasn't on your radar at all, because I'm scared of heights.
No.
And it was like, well, now you're a pilot. You're a TFO and a pilot. It's that would seem very odd to some people, but I know multiple people like you that are scared of heights that are pilots. It's two different things, kind of like putting up Christmas lights on a ladder. You probably don't like that, right? I mean, getting on a roof or something, but flying at, thousands of feet in a helicopter, no problem. That's cool.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Hangar Z podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more stories that promote the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Lastly, stand by for a message after a word from our sponsors. Cheers.
Thank you to our sponsor, Spectrum AeroMed, your trusted partner in air medical solutions. Experience safety and innovation with their customized interiors. Designed for both rotor and fixed-wing aircraft. Fly with confidence. Fly with Spectrum AeroMed. For more information, please visit spectrum-aeromed.com. Thanks to our sponsor, Anodyne Electronics Manufacturing, a leading manufacturer of trusted special mission avionics for law enforcement, aerial firefighting, and utility operators. Visit www.aem-corp.com and learn how AEM's digital communication and loudspeaker systems, avionics consoles, radios, and specialty audio products can support your most demanding missions. Thank you to our sponsor, Shotover. Shotover Systems is the leading developer and manufacturer of high-performance gyro-stabilized cameras with advanced real-time AR mapping and mission management, all backed by unparalleled custom training and support. Now offering the M2 multi-sensor system, sole 6-axis EO-IR platform with 4K Ultra HD color and infrared technology. Ideal for law enforcement and defense. Offered with real-time AR overlays to quickly identify streets, weather, and traffic. Automated license plate recognition, 24-megapixel digital photographs, and automated steering and tracking.
Thanks for supporting the sponsors who make these conversations possible. Don't forget to give our social media a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We use our social media page to promote upcoming episodes, to highlight the good work being done across the globe by public safety aviation programs, and sprinkle some humor in there, here, and there. Thanks for supporting the sponsors who make these conversations possible. AppsCon is just over a month away, so don't forget to register and grab a room as they go fast. We have an upcoming episode where we have the opportunity to sit down with AppsCon's Executive Director and CEO, Dan Swartzbach, and their training program manager, Dan Knight, to preview this year's conference in Houston, Texas, which is going to be July 29th through August 3rd. Catch you there. Cheers.
Time to close up the hangar. Thanks for joining us on the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts.